My parents put my name on a $470,000 mortgage I never signed. They used my credit for my sister's dream house. I stayed quiet and froze the loan. 36 hours later, her realtor called me in a panic. There were three things I never expected to ruin my week: a passive-aggressive group text, a pink frosted sheet cake, and a letter from a bank I barely remembered existed. Let me back up. I was not always the invisible sibling. Technically, I was the oldest by 2 years, but in my family, birth order never meant anything. The real hierarchy was simple. First came my sister, Haley, the family treasure, the social media entrepreneur, the golden child who once posted a sponsored makeup tutorial with the caption, "Use code DaddyPaid." Then came my parents, her #1 fans, the managers of her fragile ego and her even more fragile finances. Then came me, Logan M. Carter, the guy who, according to Aunt Linda, just does computers or something. Apparently, it had not always been that way. For a long time, I thought I just had to try harder. I thought if I became more useful, more impressive, more visible, maybe they would finally look at me the same way they looked at Haley. So I got straight A's in high school. I worked part-time at the hardware store. I fixed the family Wi-Fi so many times, the router might as well have had my fingerprints engraved into it. Still, none of it stuck. Meanwhile, Haley once got a standing ovation at dinner for painting a rock. A literal rock. My mom said it radiated potential. When I turned 19, I left. There was no dramatic blow-up, no screaming, no huge goodbye scene. I just packed my things quietly, nodded through a very budget dinner at a chain restaurant, and moved into a Craigslist room where the door did not close all the way. My parents told me they could not help financially, something about Haley's brand development costs. My first IT job was wiping spyware off a man's computer after he clicked a pop-up that said, "Click here for a free llama." That was my welcome to adulthood. Over the next few years, I hustled. I took freelance jobs, I got certifications, I built a tiny client base. I upgraded from survival ramen to real ramen. I still did not have much, but at least everything I had was mine. Haley, on the other hand, was building her empire. She went from dorm room TikToks to pastel-colored get-ready-with-me videos in front of ring lights bigger than her head. She started wearing business-casual outfits to family dinners, as if replying to Instagram comments counted as running a corporation. I told myself I was not bitter. Maybe I was a little bitter. Actually, yes, I was absolutely bitter. But it was the quiet kind. The kind of bitterness that eats leftovers alone while watching your family post dinner pictures with captions like, "Proud of our girl," #BossBabe. The last time I heard from them before everything went sideways was Haley's 500,000 follower party. I was not invited. My mom sent a group chat selfie by accident. They were all smiling around a pink cake that said, "To our real star," written in loopy icing. I responded with a thumbs up and went back to rebooting a failing NAS for a client who thought cloud storage meant putting his laptop on the windowsill. Then the letter came. It arrived 2 weeks later, sandwiched between junk mail and a coupon for teeth whitening I definitely had not signed up for. The envelope looked like one of those pre-approved credit card scams, but I opened it anyway. And there it was. My name. My full legal name. Typed in bold above a number I could not process at first. $470,000. Below that was a property address I had never heard of, along with a cheerful sentence thanking me for trusting them with my mortgage experience. I sat there for a minute. Then I reread it. Then I checked the back, expecting some kind of just kidding punchline. There was no punchline. I checked the envelope again. I checked the date, the return address, the spelling of my name. No mistake. All of it looked real. A $470,000 mortgage in my name for a house I had never seen, in a neighborhood I could not afford when I was 19 and sleeping on a secondhand futon. I laughed. I actually laughed out loud, alone in my living room, because the only thing more ridiculous than that letter was the fact that deep down, I already knew exactly where this was headed. The next morning, I woke up hoping the letter had been some weird dream. You know the kind of dream where you show up to high school naked, or accidentally marry your coworker because you click the wrong Zoom link. But no, the envelope was still on my kitchen counter, casually humming like a live grenade. And the number 470,000 still made my stomach feel like I had swallowed a brick made of overdue taxes. I did the only thing any sane person in my position would do. I Googled the property address. It was a modern two-story house in a neighborhood with Gates community security and landscaping that looked professionally Botoxed. The kind of place where the HOA fines you for having a mailbox that leans 2 degrees to the left. I clicked through the listing photos like I was snooping through someone else's vacation album. Open concept kitchen, white marble counters, a walk-in closet the size of my entire first apartment. Then I saw the caption, "Perfect for a growing family or rising influencer seeking the spotlight." That last line hit like a slap made of glitter. Because if there was one thing I knew for sure, it was that Haley had always dreamed of living in a place like that. She used to post mood boards with captions like, "Manifesting my future content cave," followed by nail polish and sparkle emojis. I always thought she was joking. Apparently, she was not. I was not even angry yet. I was numb, confused, and honestly, kind of impressed. Buying a house under someone else's name took commitment. It took parental assistance. It took the kind of identity documents you did not just find lying around. So I did something I had not done in a long time. I texted my mom. "Hey, weird question. Did someone use my information to buy a house?" 5 minutes passed, then 10, then an hour. Nothing. So I called her, straight to voicemail. Then I called my dad. He picked up on the second ring. "Hey kiddo," he said, "everything okay?" For half a second, I almost believed he meant it. "Yeah," I said, "I just got a mortgage confirmation in the mail." Silence. It was the kind of silence that made it feel like someone had pressed pause on the entire call. Then he said, "Huh, that's probably a mix-up. Are you sure it's not junk?" "I'm pretty sure," I said. "It has my name, my social security number, a full loan number, and an address in that gated neighborhood by Hillside." Another beat of silence. Then he said, "Look, we can talk about this later, okay? Your mom's in the middle of organizing something for Haley's new milestone." "New milestone?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. "She hit 600,000 this morning. You should have seen the surprise we put together. The balloons were huge." I stared at the phone like it had personally insulted me. Then he added almost as an afterthought, "By the way, don't stress. It's probably a mix-up. Banks do that sometimes." Banks do that sometimes. Like what, randomly slap people's names onto $500,000 loans? I hung up politely, calmly, and without throwing my phone across the room, which honestly felt like personal growth. Then I did what any bitter older sibling with a functioning moral compass and questionable coping skills would do. I drove out there to see it in person. I told myself I was not being dramatic. I told myself I just needed to see the house, the one supposedly tied to my name, before I did anything stupid. It was worse in real life. There was a pink Jeep in the driveway with a license plate that said, "Hey Bay." I pulled over half a block away, turned off my engine, and sat there like I was on a stakeout. Then she walked out. Haley. She was wearing a crop top that said CEO of me, carrying an iced coffee the size of a small child, and posing for a photo while some guy adjusted her angles. Probably the new boyfriend. He looked like he moisturized aggressively. I did not even know what I felt. Shock? Betrayal? A weird craving for caffeine? And revenge. Then Haley laughed one of those high-pitched, carefree laughs and shouted, "Babe, make sure the light hits the porch." And I just sat there, in my decade-old car, on the street outside a house I apparently owned, watching my sister stage content for a lifestyle I had apparently co-signed without knowing it. I did not storm up to her. I did not yell. I just drove home because the betrayal had not fully hit yet. But it would. I did not sleep that night. I tried. I made tea. I watched dumb videos of raccoons opening trash bins. I even opened the Notes app and started a to-do list called "Don't Lose Your Entire Mind Today." But around 2:43 in the morning, I opened the envelope again. I just stared at the words. Mortgage loan amount, $470,000. Primary borrower, Logan M. Carter. My name was right there, in bold middle initial and all. The more I read it, the less real it felt. I had not signed anything. I had never applied for a home loan. Ever. And yet, there it was. By sunrise, I was in full FBI mode. I pulled up my credit report. I brewed enough coffee to caffeinate a small nation. And there it was, staring back at me. A hard credit inquiry from a mortgage lender dated 2 months earlier. Right around the same time Haley had posted that manifestation video about finally finding the one. I did not know what was worse, realizing the documents were real or knowing exactly how they had probably pulled it off. Back when I was a broke teenager sleeping on Craigslist couches, my parents had opened a joint family trust account. They said it was supposed to be for educational needs and emergency support. They told me I had to sign paperwork just in case so they could manage funds for college. Spoiler, I never got a dime of that money. But the paperwork still existed, and apparently it was good enough to give them just enough access to make things look legitimate, or at least passable, to a mortgage officer named Chad, who probably thought due diligence was a Pokemon move. I still was not angry in the way people expect. I was humiliated, because I could picture it so clearly. Haley twirling in her chair, pointing at marble countertops and saying, "This one, Daddy." My mom nodding, my dad sighing. Someone saying, "Don't worry, we'll put it under his name. He'll never know." They had not even thought it would matter. Just a little paperwork, just a name on a line, just mine. I stared at the digital copy of my credit report for a while, then did something I had not done in years. I looked up the mortgage company, not the bank that sent me the letter, the company that approved the loan. It took 20 minutes, 3 call transfers, and one aggressively chipper receptionist named Lacey. Eventually, I got someone named Brad. Yes, actual Brad. Brad had the customer service voice of a guy who definitely owned a Hawaiian shirt that said, "It's 5 o'clock somewhere." He answered with, "Hi there, thanks for calling. How can I assist you today?" I said, "Yeah, I got a mortgage confirmation in the mail, except I never applied for a mortgage. I need to know what's going on." "Alrighty," he said. "Let me pull up your file. Full name and last 4 of your social." I gave it to him. He hummed. "Oh yeah," he said, "that property on Hillside Drive. That's the one. Looks like all documents were submitted through a family trust account. You're listed as primary but co-managed by 2 secondary contacts." My blood ran cold. I asked, "Who are the secondaries?" "Let's see here." There was a pause, a click. "Looks like Carl and Deborah. Same last name as you. Parents, I assume." I said nothing because what do you even say to that? "Oh, great, thanks. Yes, they casually bought a house using my identity and social security number. Classic family prank." Brad continued, completely unfazed. "Anyway, everything seems fine on our end. But if you're claiming identity misuse, we'll need you to file a freeze and submit a formal report." There it was, the cliff edge. The moment between "this is probably a mistake" and "no, this is betrayal" with a signature. I could have called them right then. I could have texted the family group chat. I could have pulled a Haley and made a passive-aggressive Instagram reel that said, "POV, your family commits mortgage fraud and your name sparkles." But I did not. Instead, I opened a new tab, logged into the credit reporting site, and hovered over the button to freeze my credit. I did not press it. Not yet. I just stared at it the same way you stare at a fire alarm right before everything goes to hell. The next morning, I pressed the button. Freeze my credit. It was just a click, but it felt like detonating a silent bomb in the middle of a perfectly staged influencer living room. I half expected alarms to go off. Instead, my browser gave me a polite green checkmark and a summary page that basically said, "Congratulations, you have just locked your entire financial identity. Have a great day." And just like that, the house of cards they had built on my name stopped breathing. I was not sure what would happen next. Maybe nothing. Maybe it would take weeks before anyone noticed. Maybe Haley would be too busy filming a morning routine to realize the loan had stopped processing. But it only took 36 hours. It started with a missed call from an unknown number, then another, then 3 voicemails in rapid succession, all from a woman named Tracy Mendez, who introduced herself with the energy of someone whose entire week had just been torpedoed by a frozen credit report. Hi, this is Tracy Mendez with Bright Nest Realty. We're finalizing the property close for Hillside Drive and just ran into a complication. Please call me back as soon as possible. It's urgent. I did not call back. Not yet. Instead, I made pancakes. It was a Saturday, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I was in control of something. The batter was too thick, the syrup was off-brand, but damn, it tasted like justice. By the time voicemail number 4 rolled in, Tracy sounded less peppy and more like someone trying to smother a full-blown panic attack with real estate jargon. Hi again, Logan. So we're seeing some flags on the financial side, possibly a frozen credit line. We're hoping it's a technical issue, but our financing partner is a little concerned. A little concerned. That made 2 of us. I checked Haley's social media, not to stalk, just market research. And oh boy. She had just posted a reel titled, Empty House Tour Manifestation Magic, with sparkles everywhere, where she pranced barefoot through the foyer like she had just closed on Buckingham Palace. I watched it twice. Once for the audacity, twice for the acoustics, because that house was still echoing. No furniture, no final close. They were celebrating early, very early. The comments were full of hearts and emojis. You deserve this, queen. OMG, that staircase. Where's the couch from? One user asked, is it officially yours? Haley replied, paper's basically done. Just waiting on boring signatures. Haha, yeah, boring signatures like mine. By Sunday afternoon, Tracy had gone from passive-aggressive optimism to full-court panic. Her 5th voicemail did not even have a greeting. We need clarification on this freeze. If this isn't resolved by Monday, we're looking at breach of contract. This affects multiple parties. Please respond. ASAP. I could almost hear the spreadsheets combusting in the background. Then, for the first time, someone else called. My mom. Her name popped up on my screen while I was mid-laundry folding socks and trying to pretend I was not enjoying this a little too much. I stared at the screen. I did not answer. She left a voicemail too. Hey honey, there's something weird going on with Haley's closing papers. It's probably nothing, but could you give us a quick call? No big deal. No big deal. Right. Just a 6-figure property built on stolen identity and trust issues thick enough to cut with a steak knife. I saved the voicemail, not out of spite, just for safekeeping. By the end of the day, I had 10 missed calls, 5 voicemails from Tracy, 2 from my mom, 1 from my dad with no message, just the call, and still no apology. Not one. No, we didn't mean to. No, we should have told you. Not even, hey Logan, remember that time we used your identity for a mortgage? Oops. Just stress, panic, and the unmistakable sound of their perfect plan cracking like cheap tile under high heels. So I did what I always do when things get messy. I made another pancake. Monday morning hit like a truck full of missed calls. At exactly 9:01 a.m., my phone started buzzing like it owed someone money. Unknown number, then another, then my dad, twice, then Tracy again, this time with an urgent update. And finally, the cherry on top, Haley. I let all of them go to voicemail. Why? Because if I picked up, I might say something like, hey, thanks for the identity theft and financial trauma. What's new with you? Instead, I made coffee. The good kind. I sat at my little secondhand table in my little apartment and pressed play. Voicemail number 1 was Tracy. Hi, Logan. We're now at risk of defaulting the financing package if this freeze isn't lifted. We need verbal confirmation from you today or the deal collapses. Please call ASAP. Voicemail number 2 was my dad. Son, I think we should all sit down and talk about this. No need for drama. You're blowing this out of proportion. Voicemail number 3 was Haley. Hey, can you unfreeze whatever you froze? I kind of have a walkthrough with a brand tomorrow and they're expecting an interior shoot. So yeah, I had to pause there. A brand walkthrough in a house she did not legally own, and she had the nerve to say it like I had forgotten to take chicken out of the freezer. Not freeze alone, they finessed in my name. Voicemail number 4 was my mom. Logan, sweetheart, your sister has worked so hard for this. Don't ruin her chance over something so technical. It's just paperwork. Just paperwork. There it was again. That phrase, like they had all rehearsed it together. Like the loan, the signatures, the documents tied to my entire credit history were nothing more than a parking ticket I was being dramatic about. I stood up and paced because no matter how calm I acted, something inside me was cracking. It was not just the mortgage, it was the pattern, the assumption that I would always play the background role, the assumption that I would not mind being the scaffolding under Haley's chandelier life, the assumption that I would nod, accept it, maybe even pay for it, and never say a damn thing. But I was not 19 anymore. I was not sleeping on a couch under a towel pretending it was a blanket. I was Logan M. Carter, and they were about to find out what that meant. Not with yelling, not with fists, with cold, precise silence. I logged into the mortgage portal again, not to undo the freeze, to download everything. Every document they had submitted, every forged detail, every co-signing note that listed me as aware and consenting. Then I opened a new folder and titled it, "For My Lawyer," just in case. As I did, another call came in. This time I picked up. It was my dad. "Logan," he said, already sounding exhausted. "Look, this whole thing has gotten out of hand. Can we please talk like adults?" "I'm listening," I said, sipping my coffee. "We didn't think it would cause issues," he said. "We figured you'd be supportive. You always said you didn't want a big house anyway." "I didn't know I bought one," I replied. "It's not like that. Haley just needed a little help. You're so responsible. You're not even using your credit like that. We figured—" "You figured I wouldn't notice." He went silent. Then he said, "It's family, Logan. Sometimes we do things for each other." "No," I said. "You do things to me and then you call it family. Don't be cruel." "I'm not being cruel. I'm being clear." Then I hung up. No yelling, no threats, just a click. Because sometimes the best revenge is clarity. By Tuesday morning, Tracy did not sound like a realtor anymore. She sounded like someone who had aged 6 years in 6 hours. Her sixth voicemail came in at 7:13 a.m., and this one did not have the usual sunshine in a blender tone. "Logan, we're now in serious breach territory. The sellers have backup offers, and the loan is now frozen at multiple checkpoints. If this isn't resolved today, the contract terminates. I don't know what's happening, but please talk to your family." That last line was not business. It was personal. I could hear it in her voice. She knew. Maybe not the whole story. Maybe not the trust account paperwork or the forged signatures, but she knew something shady was happening and she did not want her name anywhere near it. Then came the group text. Not from my parents, from Haley. "What did you do? Everything is falling apart. I had a designer booked. Now they're saying the house is being relisted." I did not reply. I did not have to. 10 minutes later, my phone rang again. This time, it was my mom. But she did not sound soft anymore. There was no sweetheart in her voice now. She was in crisis mom mode. "Logan, this is getting ridiculous. You've made your point. Haley is devastated. Do you really want to ruin your sister's future over this misunderstanding?" Misunderstanding, right. That was what we were calling it now. I calmly put her on speaker and continued writing an email to a legal contact I knew from a freelance project 2 years earlier. Subject line: Hypothetical family uses your information to buy a house. Asking for a friend. My mom kept talking. "We trusted you, and now you're making a scene." I stopped typing. "Mom? I said you didn't trust me. You used me. There's a difference." She sighed like I was the problem. "You're overreacting. It was just paperwork. You weren't even using your credit. What's the harm?" "The harm," I said slowly, "is that my name is attached to a $470,000 loan. The harm is that if anything goes wrong, I'm the one the bank comes for. Not Haley, not you, me." "That's not fair." "No, it's not," I said, "but it's accurate." Then I hung up. Not dramatically, surgically, like removing a tumor. For the next few hours, my phone was quiet. Too quiet. No updates from Tracy, no rage texts from Haley, no "let's talk" calls from my dad. Then around 4 p.m. it came. An email from Tracy Mendez. Logan, due to unresolvable financial discrepancies, the home contract has officially been canceled. The property will be relisted immediately. Please inform your family. Thank you. No caps, no exclamation points, just the cold tone of a woman who was done. 10 minutes later, Haley called. I did not answer. She left a voicemail so shrill I had to take my headphones off. I hope you're happy. I lost the house. I lost my brand deal. I have a meeting tomorrow, and now I'm a joke because of you. You're so selfish. All you had to do was sign. Click. That was enough of that. Then finally, my dad texted. You've made your point. Are you proud of yourself? I stared at the screen. For a moment, I thought about replying with a 15-paragraph essay. Instead, I sent one sentence. Let me know when you're ready to talk to my lawyer. I watched the read receipt appear, then disappear. No reply, just silence. A beautiful, heavy silence. I was folding laundry when the knock came. 3 sharp raps on my door. No call, no text, just knock, knock, knock. I peeked through the peephole. My mom, my dad, Haley, the full cast standing outside like a suburban version of an intervention, minus the emotional accountability. I opened the door just a crack, just enough to make them uncomfortable. My mom spoke first. She always did. She used that overly sweet, passive-aggressive voice she saved for public settings and damage control. Can we come in? Are you here to apologize? I asked. Or just to blame me calmly with better lighting? She blinked. My dad looked down like the floor might offer a better answer. Haley was already rolling her eyes, like this whole thing was a personal inconvenience. She was wearing oversized sunglasses inside the hallway and a hoodie from some brand I was sure had sponsored her fake house tour. We just want to talk, my mom said. I stepped out and shut the door behind me. I folded my arms. I stayed quiet. Haley gave me the look. That look. The, you're ruining everything again look she had been perfecting since middle school. You always twist everything, she muttered. There it was. The phrase came out like clockwork. Not, we're sorry, not we messed up, just you twist everything. Classic. I didn't twist anything, I said, calmly. You forged my signature. You used my credit to buy a house. That's not twisting, that's a felony. I'm just using the correct language. My dad finally spoke. You don't have to make this ugly. Oh, you already did, I said. You just hoped I'd keep the lights off. My mom crossed her arms. Logan, sweetheart. No, I cut in. Don't call me that. You don't get to play sweetheart while also betting my financial future on a marble staircase and influencer mood lighting. Haley scoffed. I lost my deal, you know. My whole content calendar is wrecked. I had brands lined up. You embarrassed me. That one nearly made me laugh. You mean the brands who thought you actually owned the house? Those brands? You're such a jerk. No, I said. I'm just finally saying things out loud. The silence after that was thick enough to chew on. Then I pulled out the envelope. Plain manila. Quiet. Unimpressive. I handed it to my mom. What's this? She asked. Evidence, I said, just in case anyone forgets how far this went. She opened it. Inside was everything. My frozen credit report, the full mortgage file with my name bolded at the top, the co-manager listing naming Carl and Deborah Carter, and a one-page legal note that simply said the situation could qualify as identity misuse and potential fraud under state law. My dad skimmed it and his jaw tightened. Haley did not even bother reading. She just said, So now you're threatening us with lawyers? I'm not threatening, I said. I'm clarifying. My mom's voice got small. We didn't mean to hurt you, we thought. You thought I'd roll over, I interrupted. Like always. Like when I slept on a friend's couch for 6 months, and you told people I was traveling to find myself. Like when Haley needed help paying off her first failed boutique, and you used my old savings account. I took a breath. Not because I was angry, because I wanted to remember how this moment felt. Standing outside my own door, no longer begging for space at their table. I didn't say anything back then, I added. I kept quiet like you expected. but not this time. My dad tried one last line. "You're tearing this family apart." "No," I said, my voice flat. "You did that the moment you chose convenience over consent." No one spoke after that. So I walked back toward my door. My mom called my name softly. I turned. She looked smaller than I had ever seen her. Not older, just reduced. Like the weight of what they had done was finally landing on her shoulders, one missed call at a time. "You really won't help her?" she asked. "I already did," I said. "You just didn't ask." Then I shut the door. Not with rage, not to make a statement, just to finally give myself peace. And it was quiet. Gloriously, painfully quiet. Behind the door, I heard them linger. Then I heard footsteps leaving. The next morning felt light, not happy, not victorious, just quiet. I did not blast music. I did not make a victory lap. I just made eggs. Real eggs, not the powdered dollar store kind I used to eat out of a cup with a plastic fork when I was broke. And I breathed. Not like some dramatic healing arc moment, just air in, air out. For once, it did not feel like I was waiting for someone else to decide whether I deserved peace. Around 11 a.m., I checked my email. There it was. Subject, final attempt. It was from Haley. "Logan, I know you're angry. I know you feel like we betrayed you. But this house was going to change everything for me. I had press lined up. I had a segment on a local influencer spotlight show. This was my big break. You've always been the strong one. Can't you just let this go? Please. For me. For the family. For Mom and Dad. You know you're the only one who ever makes things happen." That last line made my stomach turn, because it was true. I was the one who always made things happen. Rent payments, credit scores, groceries when my dad was short, overdraft fees on my mom's card covered quietly so no one had to admit there was a problem. Picking Haley up when her car got towed because she parked in a loading zone for aesthetic. And not once had any of them said thank you. They just assumed. So this time, I decided to make something happen for myself. I logged back into the credit freeze portal, not to lift the freeze, to lock it permanently with a 10-year freeze and fraud alert. Then I updated my emergency contacts. I removed every family member. Finally, I pulled out my laptop and opened a document I had been working on all week. The title was simple: Support Removed, Effective Immediately. It listed every utility bill I had been silently paying for my parents, 2 old credit cards I had been an authorized user on, both closed. Subscription services logged into my accounts: Netflix, Amazon, HBO. Sorry, not sorry. The website hosting for Haley's influencer portfolio. Yes, that too. At the bottom, I wrote one final line. If any of you need tech help, bill support, or loan signatures, please contact the version of me you thought you could use forever. He doesn't live here anymore. I saved the document. Then I attached it to one last email addressed to my mom, my dad, and Haley. Subject, final clarification. In the body, I wrote, "I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. Logan." I hit send. Then I turned off my phone for a few hours, not to block them out, to give myself back the silence they had taken from me for years. And that night, for the first time in what felt like forever, I fell asleep without checking who needed something from me. No guilt, no background role. Just me. Centered, present, and free.